Hi, last night I watched Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, the long awaited sequel to the 2000 Art and Animations animated comedy adventure. It follows on from the previous film, with chickens Rocky and Ginger leading their chickens, now living on a small island in the middle of a lake, having successfully escaped from Tweedy's farm in the previous movie. However, their daughter Molly is showing great interest in the outside world, and when she escapes onto the mainland and gets into a new chicken farm, the rest of the chickens have to mount a daring rescue to get her back. The great selling point of the original movie was that it was a prisoner of war camp film, except it's chickens. It had that very simple central concept. Everything grew out of the idea that this was like a prison camp. This film doesn't have that, and I think its biggest flaw is that it doesn't have that central concept around which to build itself. There's another chicken farm, there's another daring escape, there's more gadgets and another big machine into which chickens are being fed to turn them into food. There's a lot of repeated material from the first film, and it worked really well the first time. The second time, it's not quite as sharp. The film's also been notable because many of the roles have been recast. The original film had Julia Sawalha and Mel Gibson as the lead. This film, of course, Mel Gibson is not really appropriate casting anymore, so he's been replaced by Zachary Levi. But Julia Sawalha has also been recast, even though she did a voice test to demonstrate that her voice hasn't actually aged in the intervening 2.5 decades. And instead, we have Thandiwe Newton. They're both fine. They don't really sound really like their predecessors or even themselves. Bella Ramsey, I thought, was very good as Molly. Many of the supporting players return, although the late Benjamin Whitrow is replaced by David Bradley, and the two rats, played by Timothy Spall and Phil Daniels in the original, are now played by Daniel Mays and Ramesh Ranganathan. If you enjoyed the previous film, you'll like this. It's on a very similar line. The humour's in a very similar tone. The production is very slick and creative and lavish looking, um, and it's up to Aardman's usual standard. It's just a shame that after all this time and all this development of making another Chicken Run, there's nothing really to add. It's just more of the same, and this is the kind of film you'd really expect to see 2 or 3 years after the original when they're desperate to cash in, rather than 20 years later when they could try and do something different, try and come up with another central concept as beautifully simple and well thought out as the original, but it's really just Chicken Run again.